Hello, this is Praveen. Welcome to .NET Gurukul for ASP.NET Core training. Today we are in Module 1, Introduction to ASP.NET Core, Session 3, like in server-side technologies. Okay, so we'll walk you through this ASP.NET versus ASP.NET MVC versus ASP.NET Core, or you can call this as ASP.NET Core MVC. Okay, so in this terminology, like there are too many terminologies, right? Like ASP.NET, ASP.NET MVC, ASP.NET Core, ASP.NET Core MVC, all this kind of a stuff. Like it might be little bit confusing, like or you might be you get to used to it. Okay, basically like in Microsoft, like there will be like in term challenges in understanding the frameworks and the releases. Okay, so you just get familiar with this, like in these terminologies. Okay, I'll make sure you'll understand that in detail. Okay, I'll make it easy for you. Okay, so get to used, and here are the agenda items for this session. Okay, this particular session, like I'm going to introduce with the Microsoft Web development. Okay, how did it got started with the classic ASP. Okay, later it jumped to the ASP.NET Web Forms. Okay, and later they came with the MVC forms. Okay, and now that we are working with ASP.NET Core. So ASP.NET MVC, ASP.NET Web Forms, ASP.NET MVC, and ASP.NET Core. Here are the agenda items. Okay, so let's get started. So here is a summary of the technologies, like in the patterns. Okay, so I have this ASP.NET Web Forms. Okay, in .NET Framework 1.0. Okay, so ASP.NET MVC, like in the framework 3.5 has been introduced, and MVC Core, like in 1.0 we are working on Core MVC. Okay, so and ASP.NET Core reserve pages. So there is a different patterns, like in these technologies, like in this ASP.NET forms, like they use the server-side technology, server-side controls. Okay, this server-side controls, like when it comes to the post back, like communicating to the server is like always burden. Okay, so consider like you have certain controls in your web form, like each and every time, each and every request. So if you click on a button, or if you change a drop down, or you have this checkbox or anything, like it goes and communicates to the server. Nothing but it goes back to the server, and the whole page is loaded. Okay, so nothing but the page life cycle. In simple terms, if I wanted to say, ASP.NET Web Forms, like page life cycle is very very huge, heavy. Okay, so if we wanted to have a lighter version, or we wanted to get data from this database, like or in the server, communication to the server, wanted to make it easy, right? So in the terminology, like we jumped into ASP.NET MVC. Okay, I hope you understand, right? So and this communication to the server, like we used ADO.NET, and the architecture pattern they used like DAL and BAL. Okay, database access layer and business access layer they used, and all the stuff. But this was not successful in the performance wise. Okay, so later they came with ASP.NET MVC. Okay, and now that we are working with ASP.NET MVC and ASP.NET Core reserve pages. Okay, so let me explain you that in detail. Let me connect to my tab and explain you that in detail. Okay, you might be understood partially, right? Okay, let me do that in detail with you. Okay, yeah, it's got connected. Okay, ASP.NET versus ASP.NET MVC versus ASP.NET Core. You can call ASP.NET Core, or you can call as ASP.NET Core MVC. Okay, so this is the terminologies, like in web development in ASP.NET presently. Okay, so you can call them ASP.NET Core, or you can call them ASP.NET Core MVC. So let's understand ASP.NET. Okay, I will take the ASP.NET MVC here. So we need to understand these terminologies and the functionality of how it worked. Okay, in the earlier, and how it is presently. Okay, so this will make your development very easy. Okay, so this ASP.NET like forms, like they call this as the web forms. Okay, so this like what's the issue, like in this web forms, like it has the controls that runs at the server side. So all the form, like in the controls in the forms runs at the server side. Like consider, like I have this .axpx here. So let's say default.axpx. Okay. I have this code behind. Like they used to write the logic in the HTML in one file and the C sharp in another file. Okay. So in the code, like in code behind. Okay. So they have this partial class underscore default inherit system dot web dot UI dot page class. So everything like into your default.xpx and code behind class in different file. Okay, so consider this thing like in the drop down, or if it like it's a button. So if I click on this particular thing, then everything, the form goes to the server. Okay, so the server has to render everything. Like in this particular thing, there is a round trip. Like in each and every time, it has to post everything to the date your server, and it has to render back to this client again. So nothing but the rendering, request, response, everything that's iterated, like in repetitive. So everything gets repeated for seeing any of the operations that happens in your form. Okay, so that's the main disadvantages with the performance. Okay, disadvantages. So what's the disadvantage? The performance is a challenge. Okay, I hope you understand. Like I'm once you go to the demo, you'll understand everything in detail. But for now, you understand. So in the performance wise, like there is ASP.NET, we have lot many challenges. Okay, so when it comes to the ASP.NET MVC, okay, ASP.NET MVC we called as MVC forms. Okay, so this kind of a HTML, like in the server side controls, like in terms they used the HTML helpers. So they use the HTML controls, like HTML helper controls, button drop down, everything like they used like in the HTML helpers. This is the server side components, but it has the capability to render or HTML generations very easy. So it's a server side component makes HTML render easily. Okay. I hope you understand like what's the issue in the ASP.NET and why they came with ASP.NET MVC. Okay, ASP.NET MVC. Okay, if it is like not clear, I have written on the top also. Okay, so I just wanted to draw a line over here. So like in this communication, like they're made easy. This MVC, like it has the model view controller. Okay, so it controls frequent post back to server. So this is the advantages in MVC. Okay, I hope you understand. Like in .NET MVC core MVC, like we can have MVC forms and Razor pages. Okay, so MVC forms in ASP.NET Core MVC is like the improvised version of ASP.NET MVC. Okay, so it is not the same MVC that we are carrying forward in ASP.NET Core. Okay, it has the improved version. Okay, this is the improved version. Okay, and here we are using tag helper controls. So all your grid view or drop down or label controls, everything like in the we are using tag helpers controls. Like this is also like server side components, which makes the HTML rendering very easy. Okay, I hope you understand. So you always remember like we are using HTML helper for MVC, and we are using tag helper for resource. Okay, for this is for resource. Okay, and this is for HTML. This is for MVC. Sorry. Okay. Okay, I hope you understand like what is the issues in ASP.NET, like in the server side controls. Okay, here in the website, in the web forms, like they used server controls. Okay, here like into we have lot many performance related issues, and we have jumped into HTML helper controls in ASP.NET MVC, and in ASP.NET Core, like we can develop ASP.NET forms and we can develop browser pages also. Okay, ASP.NET forms is the improved version, and they start using the HTML tag helper controls as well in the Razor. So let's connect to the Visual Studio and do a demo on this both HTML helper and the tag helper, both MVC forms and Razor pages. Okay, so let's get started. Let me connect to my Visual Studio. So here is my solution. I already done with session 1 and session 2, right? So here let's see with the session 3. So I'm just right clicking and starting a new project over here. So it's taking some time. Okay. So ASP.NET. See here, I have this ASP.NET Core web app, Razor pages, and also I have ASP.NET Core MVC, web app MVC. So I taught you like we can develop both the forms, like in terms of MVC forms and Razor pages in ASP.NET Core. Okay, so MVC forms like this improved version of ASP.NET MVC, which is there in .NET framework. So this is like both this area, like in these are the .NET framework, but this is the .NET Core. Okay, so this part is our interest. Like in our course contents, we are going to cover ASP.NET Core MVC. Okay, so now that you understand like what the templates we have, like I have this particular core web app. Okay, I have the core web app MVC. Okay, web APIs are different. Okay, and services are something different. Okay, so now that web application side, like in the core, like I can develop MVC web apps and I can develop Razor pages. Okay, so let me first take this MVC web app. Okay, I just wanted to give session 3 ASP.NET Core web app demo. Okay, let me give me this something like web app web MVC web app MVC demo. So I give the location over here and just say next. So I'm selecting this particular framework. Okay, you're already familiar with this. I'm selecting the 9 framework 9.0 and just create. So later we prepare our browser pages also. So I'm just setting this as this startup page. So you already know like what is there in the properties and what is there in the launch settings, right? So as per the session 1, like we have the knowledge like what is this launch settings, right? So at the IS level settings. So I doesn't need this CSS file or JavaScripts or whatever. I'm just deleting it. So making sure like I wanted to do it from the scratch. Okay, so I'm just deleting this one. Okay, at the controls, like I have this particular home controller and the models. So model, like I don't want the model for now because I don't want it to bring the data from the database. Okay, I just deleted that one. Okay, so in the home I need this thing, I don't need this one. Let me do a simple thing, like why do we need all this stuff? Okay, I'm just deleting. So one flow is much enough. Like, okay, I'm just deleting all the stuff. I just remitted the master pages also. Okay, yeah, this is my I just wanted to build this one. So I just wanted to make sure like you understand this for. Okay, so what is model and what is view? Okay, and controller, how the controller will take the request and response. Okay, model something issue, let me do that. Let me remove that one as well. I don't need models right now. Okay, let me run it again. So I'll just have a simple. Okay, one more issue here. Error model. Okay, let me remove all this stuff. I just wanted to have only the index page. Okay, so let's do that in avoiding this all this, but you have to explore yourself, like why this file, what is the default template that I'm having, why we need this and all this stuff. Okay, we can't exercise live with all these particular master pages and all the stuff. Okay, so simple, like when there is a new request coming up in the program.cs class file, it's over here, right? And this particular thing is like MVC, right? So since it is an MVC, it's saying that this particular services like builder.services.add controllers with MVC. Okay, so this is the MVC and this is like mapping with the controller router. So it's what it's saying, like it is saying this is the controller name and is the action name. So when it says that this is, I'll just put a breakpoint over here as well. So when it says like when the router comes over here, it redirects to the home controller. So it goes and checks with the controller folder what is where is the home controller over here. So here is the home controller when I open here. So it has the action method, index method, right? So it comes and over hit over here. So it is returning certain view. So it is having certain views, and it in the views you have should have a folder home. Okay, since it is returning the home controller, so this home controller should have the home folder, and it is should have the index.cshtml, and this finally gets runs. Okay, so this is the basic HTML for default. Like this, I wanted to remove this, learn about the in ASP.NET Core using .NET Gurukul. So something just I just wanted to have a plain text, right? So let me run this, like let me add certain basically let me run this basically. Okay, first let understand like how the flow actually when it comes to ASP.NET MVC. So see, the initially it hits the program.cs class file. So it comes to this is like the startup, like like you can call this like this as the main method. Okay, so this is the main method, like it's a startup method. Like when it comes to this class, like it comes and over hits over here. Okay, now that it's a pattern, if you can see that the controller is a home controller and the action method is the index, like in this controller. Okay, home controller, I have this particular index. So it comes and hits here for the next time. Okay, let me click F5. Okay, it got and hit with this index action method, and it is going to return your home controller. Okay, home index.html. So when I run this, see here I got the page got rendered. So learn about the building web apps ASP.NET Core using .netgurukul.com. So this is what the flow exactly flow. Okay, so if you can see, like here is your program.cs. Okay, here is your home controller and your index.html. Okay, so this is the basic, like we are about to know much in detail, but this is the basic. Like let me remove this. Like when it comes to the post back, how does this behave? Like I just wanted to have the HTML helper, like in ASP.NET MVC. I told you like ASP.NET MVC uses HTML, right? So ASP.NET MVC, it uses HTML helper. So we are developing this ASP.NET Core MVC, and Core MVC uses HTML helper. Okay, I will just me do that. Okay, I'm declaring some H2 tags saying that ASP.NET helper demo. So this is the syntax like where I begin the form. Okay. So I'm just telling that within the home controller, go and hit this action method, which when it's a post. Okay. So I just declare this button control. Okay. Let me say this. Here, this is what it is like. You have declared this HTML helper using this particular HTML helper. You have this HTML begin form. Like this is the syntax actually, like in HTML helper. Okay, I just declared something like action method. Okay, if you can see, like this is the action method. Okay, and you have this overloading method, like in this controller name and the form method. Okay, when there is a when you click on this button, then it goes to the home controller. Okay, it goes to the home controller and it looks for this particular submit. Okay, so let me do that. Okay, I'm just going to the home controller, http post. I'm writing this particular submit. I'm just returning certain content. Okay, let me see. So I don't from here, like I don't I don't want to write complex logic in communicating to your database or something. Like these are simple, like in when there is a post, I wanted to come and hit this controller. Okay, controller method. So let me run this and make sure you understand this. So it came and hit over here. Okay, it goes on this. and it loads this view. Okay, so once you get the view, like you should be able to see that button, right? The submit button. So when I click here, what happens? It goes and hits the post method, right? HTTP word, whichever we have written, and it is returning certain content, right? So if I put a breakpoint over here and you click it again, okay, see it came over here and it hit over here. Okay, so here is the program.cx class. Well, here is the our home controller. Like here is our CSHTML. Like what we're saying, like this is the HTTP post method that you have to hit, like when it is like within the controller. Okay, so goes and it goes and such the HTTP submit button over here in the home controller. Okay, let me say F5. So that's it. Like how do you understand like this? Like I wanted to make sure you understand everything. Like so whatever, like in the program.cs class, well, like it has this pattern, and it based on this pattern it comes and here hits over here and it's returning the view. Okay, when I wanted to post something else, like I have this HTML helper, right? So I have this particular HTML helper where I have this particular begin form. Okay, I have this button. Okay, when I click on the button, it is going to submit HTTP post. Okay, so HTTP post, and it is submitting over here. So from here, like you can write whichever the logic you wanted, whether you have to have this service layer, or you have this business layer, or whichever the layer you have to communicate to your database access layer, and you bring the data and present the data in your view. Over here nothing but index.html. Okay, so this is the simple way that where you work with your MVC. Okay, so let me do with the result pages. Okay, I hope you understand. Like I will recap everything finally as well. Okay, once again. So I'm closing this one, all the stuff. So let me do with a session 3, like in result pages. Okay, right click this, add a project, result pages. Okay, I wanted to attach everything in one solution file. Okay, MVC result demo. We create. So this one, like in set as a startup project. Okay. Okay. I have these properties, and you know what is launch setting. Okay. I don't need this, all this stuff, www root and all the stuff. Okay. I'm just deleting this one. On the pages, like in the shade, I just wanted to delete all this stuff. I need this view imports and startup. Okay. I doesn't need startup. Okay. I just need only the view imports. Okay. I will let you know how what is that view imports. Okay. Error, I don't need this one. Privacy. Right. We need to explore yourself, like why I need all this stuff. It is having the privacy, it is having some HTML content and all the stuff, like we don't need for the we are for the beginner, right? So we doesn't need all the stuff. So when I try to build it, let's see what's the issue. Like if we have anything, like let me build this one. So build it got success. So let's understand from here. Like in this thing, like I have this particular properties folder, like I have launch settings, you know about it. And the page settings, like in the page settings, I have the index.cshtml, and you have the code behind this one. Okay. You have this index.cshtml. So it has this razor syntax over here. Okay. It specifies the at the rate page, which is nothing but the razor syntax. Okay. It has certain div container, which is simple HTML. Okay. I just wanted to razor page using .NET Gurukul. Okay, so I just made some like into simple text, like we have changed it, like you see here. So it is the having some code behind also. Okay, so here is the code behind, like where we can communicate to your data, like in your server, like you have this on get or on post. Okay, on you have the on put and on delete also. Okay, so this is the rough idea. Like you have this particular ecs.html, which is a razor page, like in at the rate page. It is not the same thing like what we have seen in the MPC. Okay, if we can open this. Okay. See, at the rate page, we do not have this. Okay, so this is the MVC form. Okay, I have used HTML helper. Okay, this is the MVC form, and here is the Razor form, like in browser Razor pages. Okay, so in at the rate page, like I said that this is the MVC Razor pages. Okay, so in this particular Razor pages, you'll have this code behind file. Okay, you have this code behind file index.cshtml. So where we do not have that in the MVC forms. Okay, I hope you understand like what we are doing actually. Okay, so in ASP.NET Core MVC, like you do not have the code behind, like in this Razor forms, like you have this code behind file. Okay, and view imports will save you that this is the tag helper that has been added. Okay, this is the just like registration. Okay, so this is saying that for this that project, but this namespace, like you have the add tag helper, like nothing but a tag helper. So this is the server-side components which make the HTML render easy. Okay, so this is the kind of a registration process. Okay, so this is the mandatory. Okay, so when it comes to a request, like see what happens with this program.cs class file. So it's saying that it is the see this is the web application. Okay, and it is saying that this is the add Razor pages. Okay, this is the services added. So since we created a Razor template, so Razor project, so this is saying that this is the services added for add Razor pages. Okay, and it is mapping to the Razor pages. Okay, so let me close all this stuff and help you to build and run this. Okay, it's already built and just run it. So it loads the Razor page. Okay, so see here, then about using the Razor page using .NET Gurukul. Let me close this. So let me write a simple button over here. Let me create a button over here using the tag helper. Okay, and we just post back to the in using this but into this code behind file. Okay, let me do that. Okay, I'm just taking this index.html. I just remove this one. So HTML Razor pages tag helper demo. Okay. So this is the syntax like where you define the Razor tags tag help. Okay, sorry, a tag helper. Okay, so this is the ASP page handler save button. Okay, and I just closing the form. So this is telling that this is the form post. Okay, so this is the save. Okay, so let's save this and just go back to this cs.html and write your on post method. Okay, you have on get, right? So I just wanted to write this post. Okay, on post method. So let me write that post method. So I'm just writing console.writeLine. Okay, control yes, save it. Okay, I just writing some dummy code like in console write line. Okay, so and it will log some info into this console. Okay, so when it comes to this thing, let me explain the flow again. Like when it comes to the program.cs class file, like in Razor pages. Okay, so it goes onto your Razor pages mappers, like in the pages, like in terms of it search for the index.html. So okay, in the index.html, what you have this Razor tags pages. Okay, tag helper page, like in terms like it has the save button. Okay, so when you click on the save button, what happens, like if it is going to the code behind, like in the on post save. Okay, so on post save it will log a simple console application message. Okay, so let's set the startup page is done already. So just I'm running this one. Initially it looks very different, or it's initially looks very a little bit difficult, but on going, like it will be very easy. Okay, so here this particular page has been loaded, right? So and I just wanted to click this, so let me put a breakpoint over there on post. Okay, so when it clicks over here, it will that particular method will get fired. Okay, see on post save method is getting fired, so it's logging certain information into the console. If you can see, here is the console over here. Let me expand this one. Where is the message got? See here, Razor pages form submitted. So this is, I just logged into some console. Like if you wanted within the same, like in the same thing, like I can use the iAction filter also. iAction result. Okay. I will return this written content over here, same as what we have done in NVC. Okay. So lot need to be learned like in this y action result filter on interface and all this stuff. Okay. I'll come back to that one soon within our course content. Okay. So let me run this again. So when I click save, so it comes over here and hitting this method, and I just run this. See the ASP.NET Core MVC form submitted. Let write something like in core MVC browser pages or browser form. Okay. So you're getting my point, like in all this stuff. Okay. So how do you write the code and all the stuff? Okay. So this is the ASP.NET Core web. Okay, MVC, like in the MVC, and this is the core Razor pages, right? So simple, like if you wanted to remember in simple terms, this is the MVC forms and this is the Razor forms. Okay. So how the MVC forms looks like, it has the model view controller. I deleted the model, like in model is a popo class, like in the exact replica of your database table. Okay. Okay. So that I'm not communicating to the database right now. So I have this controller. Controller, it has the ability to communicate to your views and the models. Okay. So in the views, like when it comes to the program.cs class file over here, okay, it's mapping to the controller and this particular action method, right? So the controller is the home page, okay, and the index is the action method. So it goes to this particular controller and hits this index page and it's returning some view. Okay. So that's the thing in the ASP.NET MVC. Like in .NET Core, like in browser pages, like you have the code behind class. Okay. And when the request comes over here, it maps to the browser pages. Okay, not to the MVC. Okay, right now it is a browser, right? So when it comes to the browser pages, like it comes and goes and checks the pages folder over here and it searches for the index.html. And index.html, like if you have already have cs.html file, then that has to be worked with on post save, on post get, and similarly you will have on post put and on post delete also. Okay, so if we have to summary everything like in what we have done, so we know that ASP.NET MVC form, ASP.NET web forms, like in the has this runnet server. So each and every page, like in all the page content has to be reloaded each and every time. Okay, so that's not case in the ASP.NET MVC and ASP.NET Core MVC and Razor pages. So our course content is these things. Okay. So in generally in ASP.NET MVC, they use HTML helper, okay, which is also a server-side component, okay, that runs at the server side, like which makes the HTML rendering very faster and easy, okay. And we have used this particular HTML helper thing, okay, and we have done a simple button click demo, okay. So in same thing, like using the tag helper in .NET Core MVC, we have done that, okay, in the Razor pages, okay. So that's it, like this is the session for session 3. I hope you understand the very basic things like in what we are doing. Okay, so this is to explain you like what we are doing actually, like in this thing, HTML helper, tag helpers, the web forms, MVC forms, Razor forms, .NET frameworks. This all the stuff like looks little bit like in very stuff, like heavy stuff, but when you get to used to it, like you will understand in much better way. Okay, and in MVC and core MVC and Razor pages, they will use the entity frameworks. Okay, entity framework and LentiQ. And earlier they used to use edu.net. Okay, so now that we need to concentrate on this area, this is our total course content. Okay, so get to that level of understanding. So if you didn't understand, please review that video again, and if you have any questions, you can log me to my WhatsApp or email. Okay, so that is for this particular session. Okay, let's get into the next session, like let deep dive into ASP.NET Core. Now that you understand like server-side technologies, right? So our core things, like our main course content is like to ASP.NET Core, and we are jumping into the from session 4, like we are getting back to the ASP.NET Core. Okay, now that you understand the basic fundamentals, I guess. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, thank you. Thanks for watching.